I remembered and still remember the tour given of the museum by Charles Kaufman when we went on a class field trip from Buehler Grade School. I remember returning to the museum with my family while I was growing up. I was fascinated by the collection of stuffed animals on the second floor, particularly the Bengal tiger, and certainly fascinated by the cases with rocks and shells. And there also was that rather strange Mennonite family hanging out in the cabin. I think some of you had dinner with them this evening. There they are. I started collecting rocks and shells on our family trips and created a little museum of them in a tent in our backyard one summer. But my thirst for museums is not satisfied. Our family visited many museums on trips, ranging from the Smithsonian to Fort Larned. And I kept coming back to the Kaufman Museum, even visiting it while I was attending Bethel. In my senior year at Bethel, as I was looking for a job in history, Keith Sprunger suggested I consider museum work. I bit at the chance. Thanks to some of the contacts provided by Keith and a very nice letter of reference from Jim Yunke, I entered the graduate program at Cooperstown. I need to mention just one thing about that reference letter from Jim. He handed it to me and he said, "Steve, I've said a lot of really nice things about you in this letter. They are, of course, all lies." So, a little bit of Mennonite humility swooned out there for me at that point. So I entered Cooperstown the fall of 1975, and I have been involved with museums ever since. The Kaufman Museum has proven to be an important and inspirational resource for me throughout my career. My early experiences as a visitor to the museum and then as a fledgling museum director underlie many of the remarks I will be making about museums through the rest of this presentation. I want to address two main themes. First is the sacredness of objects and therefore the importance of what I would refer to, if you want to remember the 60s, as the real thing. Remember those ads, the real thing. The real thing is very important in a world that is increasingly emphasizing the virtual. Second, to talk about the important role of storytelling in museums. After working in museums for over 35 years, I have developed a lot of opinions about them. There are museums that I absolutely love and others that I don't care for. And that which is most consistent, I must say, about the museums that I really love is that they offer us a chance to see the real thing. For many people, a trip to Paris includes one primary objective. That is a trip to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa has probably been reproduced more than any other piece of art. You can see it in books of art, in magazine articles, in advertisements, even on t-shirts. We at home have it on a refrigerator magnet. Once you get to the Louvre, you end up standing in line to see the painting. Once you do, you're immediately struck by its size. It's much smaller than you expected, probably because all of the reproductions of it seem to have made it larger than life. But you've seen it, and you can check it off your bucket list, and when you get back home, you can tell everyone at home you saw the Mona Lisa. But why waste your time? There are so many other things to do in Paris. For that matter, why even waste your time going to the Louvre? You can look at all of its wonders in art books or online and save the time and the money. In fact, after tonight, you no longer need to go to Paris to see the Mona Lisa because you see it right here. I have just saved you the cost of an airline ticket and the hassle of a 9-hour airline trip. But that isn't really what it's about. It's not enough to just look at this image. In fact, seeing this image may only whet your appetite for seeing the Mona Lisa in person. Why? Because when you stand in front of that painting in the Louvre, you see the real thing. And that is what museums at their best give us. They give us the real thing.